This single area accounts for a huge slice of the SAT writing and language test exam. Skip it and you're basically gambling with your result. So we're not skipping it. You know, between you and me, the College Board loves it when you overthink. They want you to believe this test is about how many fancy words you know, but the truth is much simpler and much more devious. We're going to debunk the lies about punctuation, logic, and style that keep most scores stuck in the mud. Let's get into the mechanics of what's actually happening behind the scenes. Most people approach this section like an English class essay, but that's the first mistake. We're going to tear down the myths one by one, starting with the biggest lie, that more is somehow better. Now, here's the thing about the SAT. It rewards efficiency, not fluff. Let's look at why your instinct to sound smart is actually your biggest enemy. Let me put it another way. You'll hear people say that the longest, most academic-sounding answer is usually the right one. The truth is, the SAT is obsessed with brevity. Most students see a short, simple answer and think, that's too easy, it can't be it. They pick the one with 3 extra adjectives because it feels more official. But why would you use 10 words when 4 do the job? If an option says due to the fact that and another says because, the shorter one wins every single time. What I see students do is ignore the shortest answer because they're afraid of being too simple. Don't be. People will tell you that repeating a concept for emphasis makes your point stronger. Here's where that breaks down. The SAT considers repetition a technical error. I once had a student named Marcus who was a brilliant creative writer. He'd write things like the annual yearly gala because he liked the rhythm. He learned the hard way that the test makers hate that. If the sentence already says annual, you don't need yearly. The wrong answer is tempting because it sounds rhythmic, but it's logically redundant. The thing nobody tells you is that the test is looking for the leanest possible sentence. There's a myth that passive voice sounds more objective and scientific. Actually, let me back up. It's not that passive voice is strictly illegal, but it's almost always the weaker choice. Students often pick the cake was eaten by the boys because it feels formal, but the boy ate the cakes is direct and punchy. Why is the wrong one so tempting? Because we're conditioned to think formal means complicated. Think of it like a workplace email. Do you want to read? A decision was reached by management or management decided. You want the second one. Always look for who is doing the action. Okay, right, quick reset. Let's talk about those little marks that everyone uses, but nobody truly understands. Dad. You'll hear people say semicolons are just fancy commas. That's a lie that will tank your score. The truth is, a semicolon is a period in disguise. It has one job, separating 2 complete sentences. Students often use them to pause, like a comma, but that creates a grammar wreck. If you can't put a period there, you can't put a semicolon there. It's like a wall between 2 houses. It needs to be strong enough to stand on its own. If you see a semicolon and a period as 2 different options for the same spot, they're usually both wrong because they do the exact same thing. Between you and me, the colon is the most misunderstood tool in the box. The myth is that it can only be used for lists. The fact is, a colon can introduce a list, an explanation, or even a single word as long as the stuff before it's a complete sentence. I see students pick the wrong answer because they think a colon looks too dramatic. Right, stay with me here. Think of the colon as a magician pointing at a hat. The first part is the setup, the second part is the reveal. If the setup isn't a full sentence, the trick fails. Now, here's the thing. People say dashes are just for when you're being lazy with grammar. Here's what they don't tell you. The SAT loves dashes for non-essential information. If you start a detour with a dash, you must end it with a dash. You can't mix and match a comma and a dash like some kind of punctuation salad. It's like a set of parentheses. If you open a bracket, you have to close it. The wrong answer is tempting because it looks like a natural pause, but the SAT is checking for symmetry. While we're on this, remember that a single dash can also act like a colon. It's versatile, but it's not random. Now, this is where the College Board gets really sneaky. They're banking on you being a lazy reader. Let me put it another way. The myth is that the subject is always the word right next to the verb. The truth is, the SAT loves to shove a massive prepositional phrase in the middle to distract you. Imagine a sentence like, the box of chocolates is on the table. Most students see chocolates and immediately want to pick R because it sounds right to the ear. But chocolates is just a passenger in that sentence. The box is the driver. What I see students do is forget to physically cross out the middle junk. If you ignore everything between the subject and the verb, the answer becomes obvious. Here's the exam day version. You'll hear people say that as long as you know who you're talking about, the pronoun is fine. In the real world, we say, they say it's going to rain, and everyone knows. They means the weathermen. On the SAT, that's a death sentence. They must refer to a specific plural noun mentioned earlier. If the sentence says, the library was closed and they were sad, who is they? The books. The librarians? The ghosts? If it's not crystal clear, it's wrong. The thing nobody tells you is that vague pronoun is one of the most common ways to lose points. The myth is that a descriptive phrase can just hang out anywhere in the sentence. The truth is, a modifier must be right next to what it's describing. Consider this, sizzling on the grill, the chef flipped the burger. Was the chef sizzling? I hope not. Because sizzling on the grill starts the sentence, the very next word must be the burger. This is a real-world application of logic. If you're writing a report for work and say walking into the office, the computer was on, you're saying the computer has legs. It sounds silly, but it's a trap students fall into every single test. Stay with me here because we're moving from grammar into the thinking part of the test. This is about how ideas connect. You'll hear people say that however and therefore are basically interchangeable as long as they sound professional. That's like saying a gas pedal and a brake pedal are the same because they're both in a car. However changes direction, therefore continues it. The wrong answer is tempting because students often read the two sentences in isolation. You have to look at the relationship. Is the second sentence a result, a contrast, or just more of the same? If you can't define that relationship, you're just guessing. My advice? Read the sentences without the transition first, then decide what's missing. So, watch this. People think you can just feel where a sentence should go based on the vibe. Here's where that breaks down. The SAT uses anchor words. If a sentence starts with this discovery, it must come after the sentence that actually describes the discovery. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You don't just throw pieces at the table. You look for the tabs that fit the slots. Look for pronouns like this, that, or these, and look for chronological clues like subsequently or previously. If those aren't lined up, the paragraph is broken. Okay? The myth is that more information is always better for the reader. The fact is, the SAT loves to test your ability to spot off-topic sentences. Even if a sentence is 100% factually true, if it doesn't support the specific goal of that paragraph, it has to go. I see students keep sentences because they find the information interesting. Oh, I didn't know that about penguins. Great, but is this paragraph about penguin migration or their diet? If it's about diet and the sentence is about migration, it's garbage. Be ruthless. If it doesn't earn its keep, delete it. Right, final stretch. Let's talk about the charts. People think this is a math section. It's not. Right, quick note. The myth is that you need to do complex calculations to answer the graphic questions. The truth is, it's just a find and replace game. The test will give you a sentence that makes a claim about the data, and you just have to check if the graph actually says that. The wrong answer is tempting because it will often be a true statement about the graph, but it doesn't fit the context of the sentence. You're looking for the intersection of true according to the charts and true according to the grammar. Don't overthink the numbers, just look at the labels. Right, quick note, you'll hear people say you should use the fanciest vocabulary possible. In reality, the SAT has a very specific voice. It's professional, slightly formal, but never flowery. If the whole passage is a standard scientific report and one answer choice uses the words stoked or bamboozled, it's wrong. Similarly, if it sounds like a Shakespearean sonnet, it's also wrong. The thing nobody tells you is that consistency is more important than sophistication. You're an editor here, not a poet. Keep the tone level and steady throughout the whole piece. So, watch this. There's a massive myth that no change is rarely the right answer. Some students think that if they don't change anything, they aren't doing the test. The fact is, no change is the correct answer roughly 25% of the time. If you find yourself avoiding it because you feel like you have to fix something, you're falling for the trap. If the sentence isn't broken, don't try to fix it. I see students second-guess themselves into a wrong answer just because they haven't picked A in a while. Trust the rules, not your suspicion. We've pulled back the curtain on the SAT writing section. From the length illusion to the proximity trap, you now see that this test isn't about being a genius, it's about being a disciplined editor. You've seen how they try to trick you with flowery language and misplaced modifiers. Now, the only thing left is to put these secrets into practice and see the results for yourself. Right now, before you click anything else, go to KenningtonCollege.com and try 5 free SAT writing and language test exam practice questions. 5. That's the challenge. Then come back and let me know how it went. Like, subscribe, see you in the next one. Seriously, those 5 questions will change how you see the whole test.